Linux does not have any form of telemetry data collection. I often hear people saying that some Linux distros, such as Ubuntu, and even Linux Mint, have forms of spying effectively built into the operating system itself. However, this is proven to be nothing but a lie. Linux does not collect any of your personal data whatsoever. This is partly because it is a free and open source system, and anyone can study, modify, and redistribute the source code, which also means that if anything dodgy or suspicious is found, it is often removed before it gets a chance to wreak havoc on the user's system. Some Linux distributions do have a diagnostic data program. A perfect example of this is Ubuntu, which is owned and managed by Canonical. They encourage you to send diagnostic data back to the developers. However, it is very easy to disable this, if for some reason you're concerned about your privacy being affected by diagnostic data collection. Aside from Ubuntu, pretty much every single other Linux distro does not come with any form of spyware or telemetry data collection, and this is also because Linux is built to be a more privacy-friendly and respecting OS. Linux Mint was claimed to have some form of tracking too, but this is utter nonsense. The team of developers at Linux Mint officially states that Linux Mint is free of any forms of spyware or dirty data collection tactics, and a few videos on YouTube have proven that point to be true. So if you're worried about Linux collecting telemetry data, do not be, because it can always easily be disabled, and for the most part, 99.9% of distros don't even have a telemetry data collection service. The only exceptions here are Red Hat Linux and Ubuntu Linux. Now, this does not mean that applications will not send back some form of telemetry data. Your web browser is a big culprit to data harvesting, especially if you use Chrome, Edge, or Firefox. However, some browsers are also aimed at being privacy-friendly and as a result, do not have telemetry data collection built in. A perfect example of this is WaterFox and LibreWolf. While Linux does not send back telemetry, your other applications most certainly will, so some information about your system will be revealed to whoever is behind that telemetry data collection service. However, telemetry is not always a bad thing. It can be used to identify bugs and issues early on, and it can be a way of developers implementing new features and security enhancements, so don't be fearful even if your OS has telemetry data collection. And you know what? That is really just a teardrop of all the data actually being collected from you. Your OS and applications are just two of so many other things used to track you, and if you use Linux, tracking is not of worry, because like I said, nearly all distros don't have any form of telemetry data collection, and if it does, you can easily turn it off. This is not to say that you will be anonymous using Linux. Your activity will most certainly be visible to your ISP, or government, and it will be almost impossible to really be 100% anonymous, simply because of how the internet works. However, some distros such as Tails OS and Unix aim at stopping your ISP and government from tracking your every move. These distros have been proven to be very private. However, government agencies are constantly cracking down on these distros, so be very careful when downloading them, as you could be using a hacked version that has spyware built into it, which is the exact opposite of what Tails or Unix are designed to do. If you're really worried about telemetry, go offline and never connect to any network ever again, because that's the only way you're truly going off-grid in this online world. That might sound crazy, but it's true. Other things that will collect data from you are the very search engine you use, the websites you visit, advertisements you look at, etc. So even if you use Linux, some form of data is going to be harvested. It's inevitable, and you cannot change things for better or for worse, because we are powerless and we are beholden to corrupt and evil corporations, like Google, Apple and Microsoft, and they do the largest amount of data harvesting from their users, and you can never be 100% invisible in this online world, because even the most secure protocols and security technologies can be cracked and easily spoofed, which means your anonymity is completely gone at that point. Tor browser can be hacked or you could land on a honeypot, which is a website destined to tell the feds or cops that you're using Tor, and they can see who exactly is using Tor and where they are coming from. So you can never ever be truly private. However, you can certainly take action to minimize the amount of data harvested from you. And if you know anything about data retention laws, you would know that certain places are strict. Take America or Australia for example. We both have very strict data retention laws, and surveillance is only going to become of increasing concern thanks to the development of more sophisticated technologies that can even crack encryption keys. Quantum computers have the potential to change humanity for good, but there also comes a massive downside: no more privacy, truly, because with that much power, a quantum computer can crack any existing form of encryption. It can see past a VPN, Tor, and all. So when this day comes, this is when we will really lose our online privacy. In fact, Quantum computers could monitor you in your very own home, and the government can already do creepy stuff like tap into your phone to listen to your very conversation you're having, or they can watch you closely, just for using Tor or a VPN, and the cops can, at any time, seize your technology, sometimes without a warrant, so these guys really have the power that you or me don't have. While this might sound scary, you must remember that it is costly to keep data from a particular user, and when considering the entire population of your country, it gets very expensive because keeping a track record of everyone is expensive to enforce, so even if your data can be kept for up to, in the US and some other places, a maximum of up to 18 months, or in Australia, a maximum of up to 2 years, but keeping the data for longer also means the cost is going to be of greater expense, so governments and intelligence agencies don't always keep your data for this long, as enforcement of this is costly. While you can never be anonymous in this online world, using Tor, a VPN, and Linux, as well as a more private search engine, with no form of data harvesting, can all be ways you can minimize the data being harvested from you, the end user, and since you are often the product, you are what gets those advertisements their revenue, and you help big bad Google get their cash in their pocket, so ditch the witch and do yourself a favor, use a more private search engine, like DuckDuckGo, use a better and more private browser, like WaterFox, LibreWolf, or if you want to go to the greatest lengths, use Tor browser, and do not use it without some sort of disguise, like a VPN or proxy, as governments can red flag your activity as suspicious, all because you're on the Tor network, and you can ditch Windows or Mac OS and use Linux, and if you're using Linux already, you can even use Unix inside of the host OS, and the reason to use Linux instead of Windows for this is because Linux does not send any data back to developers, and your system most likely will not send any information about you using Unix to go on the Tor network as a result, whereas on Windows, you have a serious issue with a backdoor that can tell Microsoft exactly what you're doing, at any time, any place, and Windows will monitor your activity, so it is pointless to use Tor or Unix on Windows, as Microsoft can easily see past those security tools, and it's much more of a danger to you than it would be if you were using Linux. Don't use Tor on Mac OS either, as it is also home to dirty data collection tactics. Apple is your backdoor on Mac OS, they too can see that you're using Tor or Unix, and the virtualization software you use also monitors your activity. The only notable one that does not is Oracle's VirtualBox. Other free open source solutions may also lack any form of tracking or monitoring, but you must be extremely careful as to not use Tor or Unix with something that will be of big compromise to your security and privacy. We can talk more about Tor and online privacy in a future video. Alright, that's it for this video folks. Please remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe. See you next video. Bye for now.